This man had been asleep for 500 years in a cryogenic chamber. When he finally woke up, he found that the world had changed drastically. The cities were in ruins, with crooked, swollen buildings tied together by ropes. Bridges were broken, and no one bothered to fix them. Cars had crashed and piled up beneath the bridges. It turned out that humanity's intelligence had gone downhill. Smart people had become an extinct species. The story takes place 500 years ago, when high-intelligence people didn't want children, while the low-intelligence ones, on the other hand, were multiplying like rabbits. This imbalance led to a significant decline in human IQ. As a result, the government started the hibernation program, freezing high-intelligence people in cryo chambers to prevent humanity from devolving into ignorance. The main character, Jack, was a US soldier who was lucky enough to be selected as one of the first experimental subjects. Alongside him was a woman named Lisa. Soon, both of them entered the experiment, fully induced into a cryogenic sleep. But the experiment didn't go as planned. Shortly after they were frozen, the project leader was arrested for corruption, and the laboratory was shut down. Since the experiment was kept secret, their cryo chambers were forgotten in the ruins. 500 years later, they still hadn't woken up. The laboratory had long since become a giant pile of trash. As the last empty soda can fell, the trash heap collapsed, and debris flooded the city like a tsunami. Jack's cryo chamber was swept into the home of a simpleton, and that's when the door was accidentally opened. Jack woke up completely disoriented, only to be thrown out of the house by the man, who was watching TV. Stumbling onto the broken streets, Jack was filled with confusion. He tried to ask someone for help, but the people around him couldn't even form proper sentences. They all seemed incredibly slow and dim-witted. His head was spinning, so he went to a hospital for help. The frustrating part? The doctor couldn't tell the medical equipment apart and inserted a colonoscope into his mouth. Jack quickly rushed to a sink to rinse his mouth, but what came out was not water, but soda. It was only when he saw a magazine on the table that he realized he had been asleep for 500 years. Returning to the streets, he realized the whole planet was now occupied by idiots. Things got worse when Jack was arrested by the police for not having a modern ID. The judge handling his case looked like an imbecile, which made Jack worry even more. To his horror, he discovered that his lawyer was none other than the simpleton from earlier. Not only did the lawyer fail to defend him, but he also made his situation worse, adding 2 more charges: trespassing and disturbing someone who was watching TV. In the end, Jack was found guilty and sentenced to undergo a mandatory IQ test. As soon as he heard the questions, his eyebrows furrowed in disbelief.